here's the original book that I got this from, an old Allied handbook for transistors. And this is the 1970s series. And this is the original diagram that I'm starting from. This is the diagram that's in that Allied book. And you can see it uses two PNP transistors, and it has a tank circuit with a fixed 150 picofarad capacitor in it. And the feedback at the bottom of the coil goes through a .01 microfarad capacitor. That's the positive feedback for the oscillator. Then the bias for the first transistor is the 22K and 68K ohm resistor, and we also have a 50K ohm resistor to help vary the bias. And then we got a 6-volt power supply, and going to the right we've got a 50 microfarad capacitor across the 1K resistor, which is the bias for the second transistor, and then that transistor will operate the relay. Now the two transistors are set up in a Darlington, so amplification is pretty high. Well, I've got a few PNP transistors, but I have a lot more NPN, so I came up with this circuit originally. We've still got our tank circuit, but this time I used a variable capacitor, a 50 picofarad to 460 picofarad. And the feedback capacitor that's on the bottom of the coil is a .001. And our bias is 100K ohm. And also I'm now using 12 volts. And the bias for the second transistor is that 225 microfarad capacitor and a 1K ohm resistor. And the load for the second resistor is a diode now. Well, I did some experimenting with this, and I still had to touch the antenna. So this is not what I want. And so I did a lot of experimenting, changing the frequency, and I noticed that when I upped the frequency, it was getting more to what I wanted. So I made another change. If you take a look at the bias resistor for the first NPN transistor, I changed that to a 10 meg. And that's where the circuit is right now. And that's a pretty high impedance. And this circuit works a whole lot better when it is, when the tank circuit, that capacitor is at 50 picofarad. So that tells me I think I need to go with a much higher frequency. Here's the last circuit that I have been experimenting with, and the circuit is just this row right here. All this is another experiment. And this is the variable capacitor, and here's the coil right there, and our variable resistor. And the transistors are buried. You'd be hard to see. There's one right there, and there's one up here. That one I'm sure you can't see. And they're just NPN transistors, 2N, 2 2s. And I've got this variable capacitor set at 270 picofarads. And when I bring my hand up over here, over the plate, it doesn't do much. Right now I'm touching it. And that's not what I want. So I'm going to lower the capacitance to 50 picofarad. And now when I bring my hand over it, I am not touching it. It gets pretty dim and it went out. I'm still not touching it. And that's what I'm looking for. Now, I'm not worried about how bright it is because I can put another transistor after this, amplify it. It'll also reverse the results. In other words, it'll get brighter instead of dimmer. But since I have this 10 meg resistor here, I'm thinking that's pretty high impedance. I might need to go to like an N-channel MOSFET. So that's what I'm thinking right now. But anyway, I'm going in the right direction. Like I said, not worried that I want it to get brighter when I put my hand over it. You just add another stage on and it reverses the results. Plus you can amplify that effect also. So that's going in the right direction. Now, I've still got my scope hooked up to this, so I'm going to stop this video and position this on the workbench here so you can also see the scope. And the only reason why I put a scope on it was to make sure that I had an oscillation. But I thought I'd show you what it looks like when I put my hand over this so you can see what's going on. Okay, we finally got this set up where you can see the LED and the scope back there. And when I put my hand close to this, you can see that the frequency changes, and that changes the output of the LED. So I'm headed in the right direction. I need to do a higher frequency. Now I have no idea what that's going to be. When I get what I want, of course I will document it. So I'm definitely going in the right direction. So there's more to come on this. There's going to be a lot more experimenting.
Thanks for watching.